Welcome to part 4 of 4 in the study on wealth and finances. In this section, we're going to be talking about investing strategies of the wise. Okay, so I'm gonna start off by in going through kind of the educational portion on this and answering by going through a real life example. If you guys were here last week, we talked about the fact that we still had some money in an IRA, and so basically, before we knew any of this stuff, before I started coaching with my financial coach, he put together all these videos. He had these done and everything, and he is, essentially this guy's worth millions, and you hire him, and he teaches you how to do all this stuff for a fee, a hefty fee. But then, of course, you well more than make it up over the course of time, so it benefits everybody. And this guy actually worked in the insurance industry for like 30 years, so he knows his stuff. But anyhow, so we had put money into a traditional IRA, because my CPA said, hey, you can put away this much money and avoid having to pay it in taxes, right? So if you put in this much, then you'll avoid getting this much in taxation. So essentially, it's free money if you put it away, right? That's the way that most of us are trained to think. So basically, we put in $14,000. Okay. Now we've actually done really good with that over, even though the economic downturn was there and everything, we still in the last 3 years put that 14,000 grew to about 31,000. Okay, not bad for the worst downturn in history, right? So we did good, and now that we actually understand how all this stuff works, now I'm actually looking at, well, what happens now, and how do we get rid of that, and so what's the next step? Well, basically, here's what it comes down to. Of that 31,000, because of taxation, they're going to take 13,500. Okay. Which is like 13,500. Yeah. Who's got a calculator? Okay. So what's well, here? There's one back here. Okay. So 31,000 minus 13,500. That's 17,500 that we get left over with, right? Okay. So basically, what you see happen there is essentially, pretty much 3 years worth of investing, and the government got all of the returns on it. Okay, now does everybody see the point and why? Now this is what is so devious about this, okay? And you don't really see it until you really see it when you're in the action of it, and you're the one that actually has to write the $14,000 check. Is that basically the bottom line is this, okay? When I put that money in, what tax bracket do you think I was in?
15.
Okay, this was 3 years ago, okay? So 3 years ago, we weren't doing very well. We were in like the lowest tax bracket possible, and didn't pay hardly anything in taxes, okay? Now, how do you think I'm going to be at age 65?
You're going to be in much better tax bracket.
Yeah. So basically, it's like, okay, well, we can take the 15% now of this amount, or we can give him the benefits of hanging on to that and letting him have it until he gets to 65 with no option to be able to touch it, and now he's going to be in the 35% tax bracket, maybe even 40% by that time, right? Because
50.
Taxes are not going to go down. Something on taxes too, I want to make sure everybody's aware of this, okay? When the Boston Tea Party happened, and well, actually even go before that, okay? Benjamin Franklin, okay, when he in his documents and his speeches were calling England, basically killers and destroyers and everything else, you know what their tax rate was?
2 cents or something.
They went to war on tax that was about 1 to 2%.
Wow.
They went to war, and they said that he literally used the word slaves, that they were slaves to England, and their taxation was 2%.
Wow.
Yeah. So who's the slaves now? You see how much we're paying. So that number is not going to go down. That number was going to go up. Now all of a sudden you start to see that this this rate of return really wasn't that big of a deal, because like, oh great, and imagine if I had actually been concentrating on that and focusing on that and stressing over it and watching the market go up and down and all this kind of stuff. Literally, I haven't touched it. I mean, we had an Apple and Whole Foods market and a couple others that I knew where they were going, and companies I believed in, and that's not touching it. But people they're like consumed by this stuff, like watching the numbers, wanting to know how they're doing. Stock market crashes and they're jumping out a window of a building, or putting a gun to their head like one of the 5 founders of Primerica did. Citigroup crashed, boom, popped himself. So here's the thing. That went from 14,000 to 17,500 in 3 years. Okay. Now let's do the math here. If we had had our money in our bank, okay, you get about 6% dividends a year. Okay. So 14,000 times 1.06 equals 14,840 times 1.06 equals 15,730 times 1.06. If we had had it in our bank, we would have 16,674.22. Okay.
Are you saying that's a checking or like a savings?
This is what we would actually have in our bank, in our infinite bank, using life insurance.
Okay.
Yeah, it's 6% return. Yeah. Now, see, everybody says, "Oh, don't buy life insurance because it's so expensive, right?" And that whole thing, like the whole buy term invest the difference thing, is a ridiculous argument, because it's like, if you're talking about just the factor of insurance, yes, that's true. You probably want to go with the cheaper insurance. But if you're actually using this for the right purposes, there's nothing that can touch it. I mean, it's just there's no comparison. Term insurance can't do that. So here's the thing. You look at that and it's like, okay, well, we actually did better, right? Okay, now calculate the return that we got here on that over the course of 3 years. About how much is that? Oh, that's a huge return, right? Okay. Do you think we're going to do that consistently over the next 30 years? No. What's the average return over 30 years in the market? 4%? Yeah, something like that. I mean, it's not much at all. It's horrible. It's absolutely terrible. So, so basically you can kind of see, I mean, this is high end, and yet we just barely beat out what we could have done at a stable rate of return that is completely secure from anything in the market. You see how that works? So now the second aspect to that, besides the fact that you're going into a higher tax bracket and everything else there, in addition to that, let's say that that's all the money that we had in savings, okay? And my car breaks down, okay? Now, we've got 16,000 in this account. We've got 31,000 in this account, okay? So it's like, hey, we're doing better, right?
$835.88 better, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, well, yeah, that's this to this. But I'm saying if we had left it in the IRA, okay, let's say we leave it in the IRA and my car craps out. Okay, so I have to buy a new car now. All right. So what happens in this scenario? If I'm using my own bank, what do?
Just take the money out.
I call them. Okay. And I can call, or I can just fax in the form. I got it on my computer. I print it off. I fill it out, sign it, fax it off, right? And then about 4 days later, I get a check in the mail. Okay, for the amount. I walk in, bam, pay for the car, and then what happens from there? I start making payments back to myself, including the interest. Like basically, if I had gone to, let's say I went to you, you're the banker at the car lot, you're the finance company, and I go to you and let's say it's a $10,000 vehicle. You say that my payment's going to be $600 a month. Okay, so that's the base rate of $400 plus $200 in interest each month, over the course of 6-7 years, whatever. Okay, so instead of paying that to you, I pay that $600 back to myself, which means I'm recapturing my payments back in plus the interest. So I'm actually going to pay it off in a greater amount than I would have if I just paid it off flat. Okay? So in other words, I tack out a loan here for $10K at 6% interest. Okay? Now, in this scenario, where do I get the money?
They loan it to you.
I can't touch this, can I? Because it's locked away. It's locked away in that big old vault that you saw on the beginning of that. Yeah, so I can't touch this. This is essentially not there until I retire. And at 65, there's a pretty good chance nowadays that I'm going to be dead anyways by the time that I can get it. You know, the life expectancy is 72 and it's going down. Okay? So there's a good chance I'm going to be almost dead, if not dead, and most of that is probably going to go into doctor bills, right? If I'm the average American, so you don't actually get to retire on it.
You have to put that average American label on there.
Yeah.
It's like you're expecting to live to like 120.
Yeah, well, exactly. Yeah. But
well, he's got the shirt, so obviously
we're going to be running marathons at 100.
That lady from Australia with the shot put, she threw it further than anybody on the planet ever. Like year before last.
That's freakish. Yeah. They must have had no gravity down there. Yeah. So you can't access that 31,000. It's not there. Okay. So what you're going to do instead is you're going to take a loan out from the bank, 10K, at what? What's car loans going for right now? 8%. Okay.
No, not 8, right?
you get 5, 5.5. I got mine for 5%.
That's what they said.
Okay. Even better. 5%. Okay? Which one's better?
I'd rather pay myself 6% than pay a bank 5% any day.
Good call. Okay, but there's something even better here. Okay? When I call my bank, when I call the life insurance company and I say I want this much money, where does that money come from?
It comes from against your policy, not out of your policy.
Okay, so it doesn't come out of my policy, so where does the money in my policy stay?
In your policy.
In my policy, and what's happening to it?
It's making money.
It's making money. It's still collecting dividends. What are those dividends?
$1 million a second. I don't know.
Minus guaranteed rate about 4.5%. Okay, so how much am I actually paying in interest here? 1.5.
Wait, but you got to calculate. They're charging you interest to loan you the money.
6%.
Oh, that's what they're charging you.
That's what they're charging me, 6%. When I got this, I was just like, come on.
And you're paying it into your policy anyway.
Yes,
Like that
yes.
anyway.
So exactly. So my actual interest rate to the mutual company is a whopping 1.5%. That's what I'm actually losing in that scenario. Okay? But am I going to pay that back? Yeah, I'm actually going to pay this back. In fact, if that's 5%, I probably want to pay back 8%. I want to pay back a higher rate, and that's insane, right? Why would you want to pay a higher rate of return? Why would you want to pay a higher interest rate? That's going back to you. Exactly. It's like if you're gonna be paying that out anyways to somebody else, why not pay it back to yourself? Because here's what happens. One of the rules that they talked about is if you've got $100, okay, in your checkbook, what happens to it at the end of the month?
You have $100 in your account?
How many people really have $100 left in their account at the end of the month?
You're saying the
Not
piggy
very
bank
many.
wouldn't work exactly the same way what you're doing.
Exactly, because see, there's this thing here. It's called, and I'm not gonna write it out. It's called the Law of Inflationary Spending. Okay, once something becomes a lifestyle, it becomes a necessity. It's like air conditioning in your car. Once you have air conditioning in your car, you're not going to go back and buy a car without air conditioning unless you just can't afford anything else. You know?
I drove mine for 3 years without AC. I just got used to it.
Right, exactly. But once you have AC, you take 100 people, 99 of them are going to buy their next car with air conditioning. That's going to be something that they make absolutely sure that they have. So it's a law of inflationary spending. So in other words, the more money that you have at the end of the month, the more money that you're going to spend at the end of the month. Okay, so here's the idea here. This is getting smart against yourself, and you're playing your own laws, and you're seeing them for what they are because they're laws. I mean, they're just things that they're human nature. So you're going to put it somewhere anyways. So if you pay yourself a higher rate of return, what you're doing is you're capturing more of that money. You're basically saving more. And that means you spend less. You see how that works? You know, so you want to pay. Now, at the same time though, do you want to pay yourself 20% interest? No. No. Because here's where you got to be smart too. The reality is, at the end of the day, if an IRS agent comes in and they audit you, and they look at your system that you have in place, and they see that you're collecting 30% interest on your own loan, do you think that's going to look a little bit fishy? Yeah, you know, they might have an argument there. They might not. I mean, if you could prove that somebody else is going to charge you 30% interest, then they really couldn't do anything about it. So what happens, you get documentation, you know, you show what you would have paid somewhere else. And when you lay that out there, it's like, look, you know, I was going to pay this much somewhere else. That's what I'm paying myself here. You know, there's nothing that they can say. There's nothing they can do. It's just you're just doing for yourself what you would have done somewhere else. Okay, so bottom line, you know, you can't touch this here. You're going to have to take that out. And that interest, that full 5% interest goes somewhere else. And that's on the low note. You know, it's going to be 5 to 10%. My car was actually 12% interest.
Wow.
Yeah, before we paid it off. You know, so 5%, that's a good interest rate. But I like 1.5% a whole lot better.
Question, how
Right?
much can you pay into the policy though?
You're limited to what's called the MEC line. Okay? Basically, here's what happened. You know, insurance companies have been around forever. Okay,
They're huge.
yeah, Japan. I think Japan has like 80% of the world's life insurance companies, and you wonder why such a tiny little island on, you know, a speck on the globe is such a superpower.
Getting smaller. I'm sorry.
Yeah, until they got vaporized. Yeah, but the bottom line is, you know, that's a lot of where it comes from. Is these were bankers for the world, you know, and so you're limited because back in the day, people were very smart, you know, and what they do is they figured out that they could use life insurance to pack away money and completely avoid taxation on it because, hey, it's life insurance. And so
That was in the 70s, right?
right, yeah, so the IRS stepped in after a couple of cases on tax evasion. They stepped in and they created what they called the MEC line. I don't remember what it stands for, but the MEC line is basically the line in the sand where it says your face value is this much, how much your principal is, what you have to pay to keep the insurance going. Okay, so you've got the portion that pays for the insurance. Let's say this is your payment. About right here is what you're paying in insurance. About 30%, 35%, 36%, something like that. I think it's about 36%, 34%, I don't know. But the rest of this is what you pay, is what is called paid up additions. Paid up ed. So that's the rest of the amount. The paid up additions goes straight into your bank. You're limited to that. You do not want to go over that line. If you shift this and you come over this way and you squeeze that amount down, it now is treated as an investment if you're ever audited, and you'll have to pay taxation on you know, basically the entire thing. You know, so you want to make sure when it's set up that you know what those lines are, and they actually set the policies to where you can't go over that amount. Like, you're limited to put in that amount. So let's say initially that you set up a policy where, you know, your income is this big, okay? So that's all that you can put in there. Well, eventually you use that and you pay off all your debts and you pay off everything else, and now you have nowhere for that money to go, right? Because you have no debts, everything's gone. You're the banker now. Now where does all those payments go? They got to go somewhere. So what do you do now? You've got this much extra income now. Now you go and you start a new policy on a grandchild or somebody else like that. And then when you've got this much income, you do like Walmart did, and you start putting life insurance policies on old guys and staying them at the front of your store. Guys, the biggest corporations on the planet know how this stuff works. They know how this stuff works. You know, so they actually got busted for that. I mean, once you know, the old guys are going to cam some of them, you know, so they collect these big old insurance payouts on it. Yeah. So Does that make sense how all that kind of stuff works? Okay, so basically questions. What questions do you guys
Put
have?
this in actual cash, this thing that you're showing here, the 36% insurance policy fee versus the paid up addition. So
Okay.
we understand exactly what you're talking about.
Okay, so let's say you've got $1,000. Okay, that you know of at the end of every month. You got $1,000 that you can invest. Okay, well, we'll switch here. Okay, so here's your options. You've got $1,000. Okay, that's what's left over after your expenses, after you fed your family, after your mortgage, your car payments, everything else. This is what you have left over. You've got an option. You can, of course, you can go into a Roth IRA. Okay. With a Roth IRA, you don't get taxed up front. You get that pre-tax dollars. So that goes in there at $1,000 a month. Okay, I mean you can even say $100 a month. It doesn't matter. I mean that's just the numbers. But let's say it's $1,000 a month. You go into a Roth IRA, that grows pre-tax. Okay, what happens if you try to take it out before the age of 65? You get penalized and you pay your tax bracket on it. Okay, which is basically going to chew up half of it, like in our case. Okay. Yeah. And then let's say you wait until you're 65, then what happens?
You don't get taxed on it.
Yeah, you still get taxed.
It's not a Roth.
Yeah.
No.
You have to get taxed at some
Not a
time.
Roth. A Roth is different, but it's also limited, and it's also not liquid.
You just get taxed,
With-
it's not not in a full income
Roth,
level.
like,
It's
aren't you
on-
taxed up front?
Yeah,
And
you're
it
taxed
grows
up front, that's why
tax-free.
you're not taxed.
Oh, okay.
A regular
It's
IRA,
a
you're right.
traditional IRA.
Yes,
You're
you
taxed
are
on
taxed.
it. Yes. Okay. So I just had it backwards.
But the argument is also, Roth is also limited just like this, just like the infinite banking. With a Roth, you can only put in a certain amount.
4,000.
And yes, it's not liquid until you're 65. So
Yeah.
that's when people say, well, I'd rather put it in a Roth, those are your arguments. You're like,
Yeah.
well,
There it was like Roth.
Yeah.
Yeah. You
These
still
are
can't
great,
touch
but
it.
it's- You can't touch it.
Yeah, and again, when we look at the grand scheme of things, when we look at every dollar, okay, just revisiting on last week, of every $1 that you make, how much goes to taxes?
30%.
About 30
Or
cents,
15 if you ask me.
okay, tax. How much goes to interest on your cars and your homes and everything else? About 35%. It's about 35 cents, okay, interest. Okay, so how much are you left over with?
35.
About 35 cents left. Woohoo!
Yeah.
Bam! Yeah. Okay, so you're left with about 35 cents. So that 35 cents now you could go ahead and
Live
do
a
what you
good
want to do
life.
with it. Good life. Okay, so the Roth IRA you can't touch up front, until you're 65. Traditional IRA you're taxed on the end when you're in a higher tax bracket.
Right.
You're going to be in a higher tax bracket at that point, most likely. Well, you definitely will if your traditional IRA has grown at all. Because all that money is accumulated in there, you're naturally going to be.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're taxed post on that amount. Now, if you do the banking method, okay, basically your insurance cost on this $1,000 is going to be about, let's say, $350. Okay, so that's going to be premium. Okay, that's a lot, right? Okay, you go to somebody. I won't pick on any particular companies, but you go to the buy term invest the difference people, and what are they going to tell you to do? They're going to look at this, and here's why you got it. This is what I'm saying. If you're going to even touch this stuff and even think about it, you better know this is coming, because at some point somebody's going to sit down with you and be like, "Oh my God, I can't believe you're spending $350 a month on premium. Are you insane? Look at this. I can get you 8 times the amount of life insurance for that amount, and look how much you have left over. And then you can go and spend that on this and that and the other, right? They're going to tell you that. So they want you to buy term and then invest the difference in a mutual fund or something like that. Right. Okay. So exactly. It's like, hey, I saved it. Now I get to spend it. Baby. Disney on ice.
On ice.
I know, right?
You're out.
Okay. Just to remind you where your money's going.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so 350 premium. Okay, and then the other 650 goes into your bank. I love that word.
Which is the
Okay.
cash value?
That's bank. Yeah, that's cash value. Okay, so now that cash value is now liquid immediately. Immediately, okay? So if let's say you have a death benefit payout, like you have, your spouse dies and you get a big lump sum, or you get an inheritance or something like that, a big lump sum, okay? And let's say it's $1 million, okay? And you've got 5 years to capitalize your bank. You would want to put $200,000 in it each year for 5 years to capitalize that system. Okay? What we mean by capitalize, after you capitalize the bank, it's now self-perpetuating, meaning that the dividends that it's earning are more than the base premium of the policy. So the premium actually costs, let's say, $50,000 a year, but you're actually making $55,000 a year in dividends. So in other words, that first year, you have a $5,000 gain of paid up additions into your policy. So you can not touch it, not do anything with it for 200 years, and your heirs eventually find this policy and it's worth millions. Does that make sense? Because it's self-perpetuating. Now, if you don't have it capitalized, or if you leach your own policy, you steal the can of peas, right? Okay? Then if you leach out of the policy, what happens is now you come below that capitalization point and it starts dwindling down because the base cost is more than what you're earning in dividends. Does that make sense? Okay, so it's deposits, withdrawals. That's the whole name of the game here. Okay, so it's liquid, which means you can loan out from yourself immediately. Okay, it's immediately eligible for you. And this is, I'm going to go back to that in a second. But the other thing is, not only is it liquid, but it's actually earning dividends. Okay, and let's say that's about 4.5% per year. Okay, that's a terrible rate of return, isn't it? 4.5%, guaranteed. Yeah, it's guaranteed though. No penalties, no mutual fund brokerage fees or anything, no trading fees, any of that stuff. So it's a guaranteed year after year after year after year. Okay.
Also on that, no one calculates the cost of lost money. Like say you have 100 grand in the stock market, you lose 50% that year. Now you have 50K, and you think to yourself, well, the market just has to come back up 50%. That's not true. It has to come back up 100% just to be at break even. So nobody calculates, when you lose money, it's, so that's another argument.
Back in 1987, I made 14%. Yeah. Great. Where's it now? Okay, so does that make sense? Now, here's the thing. Here's how I want to show you how this actually works with tying all the things together. Remember when we talked last week about debt? Okay, and we talked about the snowball strategy and all this stuff. Here's where it gets cool and you kind of tie it all together. This is where we take the best of Dave Ramsey, right? And we take out the bad parts about it, like the loss opportunity cost and everything else like this. What you do, let's say in this scenario, you take that $1,000 and you could have immediately taken that and paid off a car or something like that, okay? So you pay off the car. Here's the thing. When you're building a bank, you know that you have, let's say, 5 to 7 years to capitalize. Okay? So if you're paying that $1,000 a month, for 30 months to pay off a, Lincoln Navigator, right? Then that's going to be 30 months that you cannot start your bank. Okay? Now, that 30 months is what, 2.5 years? Okay, so that means that you actually didn't start your bank until here, and now you got to go to here to where you capitalize at the same time frame. What is the difference between here and here?
Compounding interest.
It's sick. I mean, if you talk about insurance, you know why they said insure your kids when they're born if at all possible. That's why, because it is unbelievable what happens over the course of time with this, with compound interest. It's unbelievable. Once those dividends kick in, after about year 13 or 14, there is nothing out there that's going to beat the dividends that you're going to be raking in, on your average policy doing it this way. It's unbelievable. Like, everybody will laugh at you for the first 13 years. Like, I can't believe you're just screwing yourself. After that, they're like choking on their words because there's such a big split in between. you can't even comprehend. There's illustrations and stuff in the book that kind of lay it all out, and you can. It's ridiculous. So here's what you do: you start it right away. Instead of paying off the car first, you pay your minimum payments on your debts, and you get this thing started right away. Okay, that way you're getting it started as soon as possible, which means you're that much shorter to that capitalization point. In the meantime, you've immediately got of that $1,000 month one, you've got $650 in there that you can loan to yourself. Okay, so let's say your car payment is $300. Well, that first month you got two months worth of payments in there. So what you do, immediately turn around and take out a car payment, take out a $650 loan, policy loan against yourself, and you make that payment for the next 2 months. Where's it going? Back into your account. Okay? But you're capturing the interest on that as you're doing it instead of going out to the bank. Okay? Now after those 2 months are over, how much is in your account?
It should be that plus
650 plus 650 plus 650. Now you take out another policy loan, okay, and you pay that down. You take that check from your loan, you send it straight off to the bank. They knock it down, not just the interest, but they knock down most of it off of premium, off of the base premium of the loan, right? Because only the first part is the set rate is going to go to the interest. The rest goes straight towards the premium. Okay? Now, principal, sorry. Yeah, so it goes off the principal over here. You're knocking down big amounts of interest, right? We talked about that last week. And then now you pay that $300 a month back into your account. Now that takes another 3 months, and now how much you have in there? Boom, you got enough in there. You take it over, you chunk it again. All that comes off the principal again. Yes?
But how much can you stick in the policy? Let's say I sold a piece of property for $300,000. I can't roll all of it into the insurance policy. Right?
No, you're limited. You're limited. You've got it, and you're limited by when you set up the policy. So if you know you got $300,000 from a sale,
right.
Okay. Now what you have to do is basically you tell the insurance I don't know what they're called, the insurance broker, whatever. You tell them, okay, I've got $300,000, and they plug it into the calculations and they show you, they lay it out. This is, to squeeze it right in perfectly with that neckline here, give you a little bit of a buffer, like a 1% buffer or whatever. That's how much your principal is going to be. That's how much your paid up addition is going to be, and you have to do, and we're dividing it over 5 years, okay, or we're dividing it over 6 years. And at the end of that, it's going to be fully capitalized. You never have to put anything in it again, and it will keep on going.
So you have to space it out over the 5 years to fully.
You would want to, because if you set up the policy to go in $300,000 in the first year, what would happen the second year?
you have to sell them a
You
product.
would have to somehow come up with $300,000, or at least not the $300,000, but you'd have to come up with about a third of it, $100,000, just to keep the base premium going. Because if you don't, where's the base premium get paid from? What you put in year one. You see? So there has to be some kind of a stability here. I mean, you have to know kind of where your stability is. That's why you don't want to go and overstretch how much you think you can do.
So let's just like take his example, but expand it. Let's say it's not like a one-time boost. Let's say that your income doubles, right? You have another source of income. Like, is that when you start to open up other policies?
Bingo. Yeah, you just start up a new policy. Or, I mean, first, you would make sure that you pay off any existing loans that you have out, and get that fresh. But then, yeah, you just start opening up all the other policies.
What's the policy have to be focused towards? Does it have to be like a spouse or a child, or like what's the criteria for a policy?
I could insure April. Here's the thing. It has to be somebody that you have a vested interest in, number one. Right, I have a vested interest in you.
Because they get the death benefit, right?
Yeah, yeah. If I open up a policy and I put up all the money on a policy and insure her, I've got a vested interest in her. If I lost her, that would cost, right? So then, smile. So that would cost, right? I mean, I'd have to go through all the training and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
So there's a vested interest there. Now, would I be able to put out a policy on you? I don't know, because I don't really have a vested interest in you.
Yeah.
Now, also,
how would that play out with her husband, though? sitting there, if she's dead, and you got $2 million.
I mean,
What kind of practice are you running, Bucknell?
hang on. Reality speaking, she has to sign off on the policy to open it in the first place. You know, so she had to agree to it, knowing what's going to happen. Secondly, you know, I put up all the money for it. You know, so I mean, if you're putting up all the money for it, you know, that now out of charity, would I probably? Yeah, I'd probably, you know, be like, okay, here you go. Go away now. That's right. You know, but seriously, you know, you
Well,
would.
I think this is what they did at Walmart. They actually told people.
Yeah, they got busted a while back.
You do the Trader Joe's.
Yeah.
People that come in, you look old. Would you like life insurance?
They didn't even realize they were
As
signing
long
it,
as you
like
don't
it
have
was
any
policy,
pre-existing
right?
conditions.
They didn't even realize they were signing it. It was just part of their like.
I don't know.
employee paper. That
I
was-
probably was, you know, that they
Before,
were.
here's your life insurance
Yeah.
policy. Here's your
Because if it wasn't, could they get in trouble for it? Probably not. You know, I don't know. But so here's the thing. You see how that works? How you immediately have money available to go and start knocking out your debt. So what happens? You take out the full policy loan that you have access to, and you chunk that down on your debts. Now, as you chunk that down on a debt, let's say you pay a car off, and your payment was $200 a month on that. Now you take that idea of snowballing the debt, and you take that $200 and you roll it into what you're paying off, paying back to your policy loan. Okay, does that make sense? You follow me?
Yeah.
No?
But what happens
Okay.
when you have extra income? You paid off your policy debt, you paid off your car loans.
So
What do
basically,
you do with that
you're
extra 200 now?
start a new policy. You start another bank. Anybody you want.
It works better on kids because kids require less premium, right?
Bingo.
So kids
Bingo.
are, if you can.
So now you have this 12 kids problem again.
Yep.
Okay.
Well, that or I proposition friends, and they're going to be like, you're kind of weird. You want to take out your policy on
Now hang on though. Here's-
Here's a bunch of kids.
Yeah.
Here's the other thing though.
I'm called up.
You also have to, not only is there the issue of vested interest, but there's also the issue of insurability. Okay, we were looking at this when Jen's mom passed away. You know, there was a settlement there. You know, an insurance payout there, and so we got the bank set up there. And at first it was like, you know, it came to the point. It's like, okay, so who do we insure? Okay, and now he, you know, is 62 years old or whatever, you know, so his premium was going to be huge. Not only that, but there, you know, if there's medical conditions that are pre-existing, even more, you know, it's going to be massive. Okay, so it was like, okay, well, that's out because that's going to be, you're putting way too much into the premiums. You're not going to have that much to be able to put into the or your amount of paid up additions. That's all that matters, really. Okay, at the end of the day, when you see how this stuff works, the death benefit that you claim at the end of your life is just icing on the cake.
Yeah.
It's like there's so much power without that. It's just
half
like,
what you earn.
yeah, I mean, it's like you live your life and do everything you want to do, and you take out policy loans and stuff, and then when you die, your family still gets a massive payout. You know, however much it might be, depending on how much you put in. You know, so that's just icing.
How many ways can you run the policy? Like, the two of us can take one on her. She can take one. I and her can take one on her.
Yeah.
So we can do the 6 ways.
So
to
you can
sign.
have multiple on each person.
Yes,
Yeah.
but it comes down to insurability, okay? So that's what I was going to say. I mean, this was a chunk, you know, so what happened is it was like, okay, well, if we can't insure him, let's look at insuring one of the kids, okay? You've got Jen, who is a stay-at-home mom with no income. Okay.
That's the skydive, right?
Red Bulls. So she, you know, she's a stay-at-home mom, no income. What's her insurability?
No liability.
Yeah. Are you gonna be able to insure her for a ridiculous amount of money? No. No. Okay. You've got her brother who is even younger and doesn't have a job and lives at home. Is he insurable? No. You've got her sister who just graduated from college and just got married and just has, you know, basically a regular old job. You know, is she highly insurable? No. Okay, so it was like, okay, well, all three of them don't really have. It came down to, we can't justify this. The company, the insurance company, won't actually issue the policy because they've got to see that there is insurability there. Okay, so what it ended up coming down to is they ended up insuring me because I'm the one with the highest potential there. You know, so it just kind of came out, and because health level and everything makes a difference. This is again, it's holistic. Because it encourages you want to be darn healthy when you get this stuff set, because if not, you're going to get a higher rate. So healthy people come out a lot better here, which is just awesome.
Medical, they do labs, or what do they do?
Yeah, they do blood tests. Yeah, and if your cholesterol is off, your blood pressure is off, any of that stuff is off, you're going to get a high rate. Yeah, you've got to be like Sublime to get the best rates. So
How often do they retest you though?
they don't.
Never.
Nope, never.
So
You could smoke and drink your life away after that, and you'd be, and there's nothing that
That's exactly what I'm doing.
right after we're done here.
Hey, when we did this though, we insured Mo because I'm a pilot and my premiums would be
Yep,
like
yep,
through the roof, so
yep.
we did the math on this.
Yeah, and that was before you had a kid. Otherwise,
I was pregnant during it, but yeah.
Otherwise you would have done the kid.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So let's go back to this. You know what we were talking about. Okay. Let's say here's the game here. You got $1,000 that you're putting into your bank. Okay. 350 goes to premium. This is going to go towards your 1 million death benefit. Okay. Now this is a death benefit. This is huge. What happens when you die?
you go to heaven, hopefully.
No. Yeah. Yes, but I didn't mean to say that
Your
way.
heirs should get the $1 million.
Okay. How's it taxed?
It's a lot.
Are you sure about
It's
that?
inheritance tax. Not on a life insurance policy. huh?
Not on not on a
So
death
go there,
benefit.
who pays the taxes?
Not on a death
There's no
benefit.
taxes on
No
this?
taxes. It was paid up front. It
We
was
need to
paid
get on
right at the
immediately.
beginning. You pay the taxes because you pay the taxes before you ever put the money into the policy. The taxes are paid. Beautiful, ain't it?
Yeah.
Okay, so otherwise, let's say that you were putting your money into an IRA, though, and you had a $1 million IRA, and your estate was worth $1 million when you die. What happens? Bam! Taxed. The whole thing, with death taxes and inheritance taxes, all that stuff, gone. Yeah. See how that works? I mean, it's just like,
Now, which
holy
companies do
smokes.
this though? Because I mean, you don't just run to State Farm and get one of these.
No. You have to go to a mutual company. And I mean, obviously you'd want to set up with somebody that you trust.
Who's
So,
that? That's-
I've got a contact that's good. So that $1,000, that $350 is going to your heirs. This is your legacy. Okay. So it's like, yeah, you're paying out $350, but you're paying that out. That's your legacy. It's like, that's for my kids. This is for
Your
me.
living benefits.
Does that make sense?
Now, you're
Okay.
paying that for the first 5 to 7 years? Or is that for life?
Well, my plan is to pay it for forever.
That's
I'm
what
gonna max it out. I'm gonna keep capping out my plan until I die. You know what I mean? Because if you stop at 5 to 7 years, how much are you now losing in opportunity cost? I mean, you might have originally set up your policy to be a $2.5 million policy, but if you keep paying into it for for 50, 60 years, you're talking like 50, 60 million. So you're going to keep paying into it. You know what I mean? So if I don't have the wellness center, my kids will. Okay. So
I wanted to ask you a very practical
Sure.
question. Even if you go with one of these companies that has this type of policy, what happens if they go out of business? They're burning meat off.
yeah, that's what we were talking about earlier. Mutual life insurance companies are the oldest existing companies on the planet. They are the most stable companies on the planet. They're rated.
They were the Rockefellers.
Yeah, even in this last year, what happens when the markets go down? I was telling you this over the break.
Yeah.
When the markets go down, the mutual companies actually do better because everybody floods out of the market and starts looking for safe havens. Where's the safe havens? With the companies that have been there for 200 years and are producing consistent dividends. So that's where they go. And then what happens when the market gets good again? Everybody's like, ooh, there's real attractive 18% gains over here. I'm going to pull out. I'm going to go over here. You know, they're always hunting after that. There's no stability there. You know, so yeah, it just really doesn't happen all that much, especially if you go with a company that's got a 200-year track record. You're pretty safe.
On a side note, and company, Dr. Mike was doing this, and we actually did this independently. We had no idea that we were both.
I didn't know it.
IBC, and we just happened to randomly throw out the term IBC, and he was like, "Wait, you know what that is?" And I was like, "What? You know what that is?" So, so we used two totally different people from two totally unrelated circles, and when we compared our policies, it was the exact same company and set up almost the exact same way. I think yours set up a little bit better than mine, but essentially the same principle, the same rules. But it was both a lot better.
I probably paid a lot more to get mine set up.
Okay, so you would start by determining the amount of money that you have that you can do.
That you know is consistent.
Whatever you can, 200,
real life example.
What you're saying is you're paying that $1,000. This is you. You're paying that $1,000 a month for life.
That's what you want to have planned out. That's what you know that you are going to be able to do for at least the next 5 years.
So you have to pick an amount that you know you can do.
Yeah, that you know, even if it gets bad, you can still scrape that amount.
So what's the minimum amount that you can do?
The premium.
Yeah.
Not the full.
Yeah,
Well,
I mean,
you take the money.
there is no. I mean,
$50 a month for.
You've got to at least have enough in there to where. I mean, you've got to have enough to invest in that it's at least meeting the cost of building the policy. I mean, somebody's not going to write a policy that you're only investing $5 a month in, because it takes more cost for them to set it up than it does to actually do anything with it. You know what I mean?
The realistic minimum, because like
you could do $100 a month. You could probably do $50 a month. Yeah. I mean, totally.
So based on that amount, you come up with the face value of your policy, and then that's where you determine what goes into your premium and what goes into
Bingo.
your bank.
You call your agent, and you say, I can do $100 a month, and they crunch the numbers. They send it back to you and say, here it is. You're going to be putting $36 into the premium, and you're going to be putting this amount into the paid up additions. Now that $36 of that premium, because of your age, because of your medical status, because of this and that and the other, this is how much insurance it will give you. You know, so on me, that $36 might give me, a $300,000 death benefit. But if we had put it on Jen's dad, it might have only given him a $100,000 death benefit. So that's when the health of the person comes into effect. Does that make sense? Okay.
What happens if you can't make the payments? Like you start out a policy.
That's where if you can't make the payments, you have to at least pay the premium. And if you can't pay the premium, the policy is void.
No,
They get all the money.
Well, that's when it collapses on itself.
It'll start collapsing in on itself. Where it
You
will
can
start.
You can cash it out for the cash value, right?
You can.
And delete the policy.
But then if you do that, then of course you're losing all the momentum that's behind it. But if you just stop paying the premiums for, let's say, a year, it will actually start taking those premiums out of your cash value. So it'll automatically take your payment out of your cash value.
What about within the first 5 years?
I think it still will do that. And if it gets to zero, it's gone. They cancel it out.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is that after it's been capitalized,
You never have to touch it.
you ain't got to worry about it.
Unless you take out a policy loan or something like that, then of course. But yeah, as long as you don't bleed your own policy, then it's going to perpetuate.
Can I up it in 5 years if I'm doing better?
No. No, you have to write a new policy. Real world example, okay? When we set our policy, my policy up, my bank on me, I went up to Seattle, we got it all set up, and basically, no, you guys wouldn't have to go to Seattle to do it. So it was kind of cool though. I got a beignet and some coffee from a really cool shopping picture and sent it to Jen.
Mike's Place Coffee.
I'm like,
That's your policy.
here I am in Seattle. This is awesome.
Coffee shop up there, huh?
So I set up the amount for, basically we looked at, okay, what do we realistically what's the max that we can set it up as, thinking that our income is going to steadily increase. Okay, we set it up literally the next month. We set it up in September, and then in October, what happened? The stock market just crashed. The big financial hit, that was in October, and we lost like 20-25% of our patient base within a month, like that. I mean, they just, bam, disappeared. Okay, so our income immediately took a hit, and it was like now with that additional amount, I was just able to meet the premium, and I did that for like 1 or 2 months, and then I was like, listen, I have no idea how long this is gonna take, you know, how long this is gonna go on like this. I need to adjust the policy, and luckily they approved it. They're at the insurance company. They approved it, and they dropped the amount, so that now, that amount that was just going to cover the premium alone is now the full amount premium plus paid up additions. Okay, but now that things stabilize, you know, and we have the extra, now it's like, well, now we have to set up a new policy. We have to do it on somebody else.
So you did have to lower it then at one point for yourself.
You can lower it, but you can't raise it.
I got lucky that I was
Yeah, I don't
able
know
to
if you
lower
can
it.
change.
Most of the times they won't,
Yeah.
but this is, you know,
Who are you gonna
this
put
is
on
because
this
it
time?
was
So you're gonna put it on this time, Will? Jim?
yeah. Or, well, yeah, I mean, honestly, knowing that there's family stability there and we're not going to get divorced or anything like that, you know, then it's like, yeah, we'd be smarter putting it on the kids than we would be putting it on Jen, you know, because there's a huge age difference there. You know what I mean? So the insurability is going to be, but then again, insurability factor, I can't put $1 million policy on Jalen.
No.
Although, he will be a chiropractor someday. So I might actually be able to justify that.
So I mean, like, safe to actually do maybe a safe. I mean, to start off with one, to get started with this thing, maybe do something safe.
Yes,
Then,
absolutely.
So like
That's
with
what I'm
us
saying.
two, like maybe put one on me, or you know, whichever one's going to be more insurable.
Yep.
Start off with that, get it going.
Yes.
Yes.
Do it safe.
Right, and then the next policy, you may be able to take and get a little.
Bingo, because once you start knocking off your debts and snowballing it and seeing how this works, now you're going to have the extra money and you're going to have to put it somewhere. Now eventually you get into a new type of problem, and that's when you've paid off all your debts, you've maxed out what you can put in your policy, you've maxed out what you can put in another policy, and now it's like, okay, my money is sitting still, what do I do? Now I go and I buy Jeff, or you know, I call Jeff and I say, hey, you know, of course he's got his own, you know, so, but I call Jeff and I say, hey, you told me last week you're buying a new car. Don't do it. Don't go to the bank and pay them. Listen, what's the interest rate they're going to give you? 5%. I'll do 4.5%. Great, deal's done. Here's a check. Boom, you make your payments back to me. So that works. Now, I mean, you got to find a way to put your money in motion, because otherwise you're just getting 4.5%. But if I can move it now I can become my own leasing company. You know, you can buy real estate. I can go and, hey, you know, that $300,000 property, I'm buying it. You know, so here you go. Here's a check for $300,000, and then I go and I put a building on it, and now I collect rent on that. So that works. You know, so it just well, yeah,
Still have
but
to be smart
it's
about
a-
who you're loaning it to.
It's a good point to make, because the IBC isn't for everyone. It's better for people who are married and who have kids, because the whole criteria thing is like a big issue. I mean, like, for example, I'm not a good candidate for this system because I'm single and I'm starting up like a business.
Well,
and
dude,
so,
you just got to go get married.
I know. I seem to have children and just not care. But see, like, since like my income is in flux, I'm not a good criteria fit for this, but you can institute the principle in like your own personal savings. I mean, you can build like a pile of cash and use the IBC principle to pay yourself back if you need money, or again, to give like a car loan to someone. So you don't need the life insurance. I mean, it's great because it offers like 2 additional income streams. But if you can just do this in your own personal life, you can build the principle, and then when it is time to do the IBC, you already know how to do it.
The disadvantage that's kind of the Dave Ramsey approach, is have a lot of cash. The disadvantage is you lose the opportunity cost. Let's say you have $50,000 in the bank, you loan me $25 for a car. Your cash value just went from 50 to 25. You're only making money on the 25.
Bingo. So you're losing dividends. That's one of them.
You've lost that, and that's where Ramsey and I argue a lot, because he's just a cash guy, and it's smart. Like it's smart, but I think this is a little bit smarter.
Where's the
Well,
other
but I'm saying
opportunity
though, like
loss?
if you don't qualify for it, this is the best that you have until that point.
Yeah.
Where's the other opportunity loss? You don't have a death benefit.
Yeah.
You don't have a death benefit, so there's no legacy there either. It's just what you have in your bank, which is going to be taxed when you do have to.
It's 2 years on the policy.
So,
I've got a question.
Yeah.
You've said it twice already. When I pull out of my cash value, am I actually taking that $650?
No.
no,
That's what I want to get at.
no.
I'm
Okay,
taking it from the 1 million.
okay, no. Here's what happens, okay? We're going to go through an actual example here, and we'll use these actual numbers so you kind of get the breakdown here. Okay, so that $1,000 you put in month 1, you lose $350 to premium. That's going to your legacy. $650 is going towards your cash value. Okay, this is your bank. You have a car loan for $300. 2 car loans for $300, right? Okay, we'll just say 1. Okay, so you have a car loan for $300. So you take from that $650, you take a policy loan for $650. So you say minus $650 at 6% interest. Okay, so that's taken out. That's a policy loan. Okay, they're loaning you their money at 6% interest.
And they're holding your money as collateral.
Your money is now not available in your cash value. If you cashed out today, they would take your cash value minus the money that they loaned. Okay, so you're collateral. You're fully collateralized. But that $650 is still gaining 4.5% interest dividends. You know, so you're still gaining the dividends there, but you're paying 6% here. Okay, so now you have that $650 loan. You dump that out. 2.5 months payments out to your, and some change to your car. Okay, that knocks off the $300 of the regular payment plus another $350 goes straight towards principal. Okay, so too many P words. Okay, so that goes straight towards principal, which means you're knocking out. By knocking out, you're recapturing all that interest. You know, I mean, that's literally, it's the same thing as putting it in your pocket in the long run, right? Okay, so that pays your payment off. Okay, so now the next 2 months, instead of you paying the $300 towards your car company, you pay that back to you. Okay, so you plus 300. Plus 300. Okay.
Wait, hey, in this analogy, just real quick, are you saying that you're still having to pay the car off every single month?
Well, in most situations.
I just want to be clear on.
Yeah, and you're making car payments towards like a regular loan right now. Like you've got a $20,000 loan.
Okay. The only catch I see is that even though you pay down extra principal, you're still going to get a bill next month for $300 or whatever from the car company. So now you have 2 bills.
We actually didn't.
Right. Oh, so when you pay in advance, they'll say,
yeah, they do not want you to pay it down faster. They're going to say, oh, look at that. Now you don't have to make a payment.
So a mortgage is different. Because I pay down tons of my principal. I mean, because you just get murdered in a mortgage, you know, especially a 30-year.
Yeah.
But so that's a different case. Right?
Yes,
because I would pay thousands in advance to knock the principal down, but no matter what, the bill's still the same.
That's a much larger chunk of money. They want to recapture that faster.
Even though my payment is now more powerful because I've brought down the principal.
Yeah.
And that means I brought down the principal. And, you know, that's less than my interest and increased how much my little monthly payment is, so it makes it more powerful. But, okay, so cars are different.
Yeah,
I mean, car loan. Like
that probably comes into a little bit more, too, about how, you know, the interest on a home loan, on a mortgage, it can be written off of your taxes. So if it's being written off of your taxes, you know that the mortgage companies get the same type of benefits. You know, so it probably has something to do with the taxation difference from a home to a car. I don't know exactly what it is, but
this is cool. I didn't know that they would let you just float it like that.
Oh yeah, dude.
Can you tell them, hey, you want to bill next month, you want that towards principal, like with a car loan, or?
You want that? Probably. You can.
What was your question?
I'm sure.
Could you
Well,
tell
you
them
just,
pay it
all
off?
you do is you just send
Keep
another
paying
payment.
it.
They're gonna send you a bill for
That's
zero.
true.
You just send an extra payment, boom, right towards premium.
Okay, so that's cool, because I was just concerned about the double billing thing, like, well,
Yeah.
you can't pay your, because if you only have this amount of discretionary income, you can't pay
Yeah.
yourself back and then pay the next car payment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can find, and now here's you can do one of two things. You can either first find out what they, if they'll do that or not, if they'll just defer your payment since you paid up extra up front, or you can wait until you have enough in your bank altogether to just knock it out in one shot, and then you don't have to worry about it. But that's going to take longer, and you're going to pay more interest. That's why I think this is a lot more powerful in what it does to collect, to save the interest. Okay, so now you have the 300, but now you also have another 650, another 650. Does that make sense? Because you put that in for the next 2 months. Does that make sense? Okay, so while you pay that back, you're also paying in your regular amount that you're doing each month. So now you have what, 650 plus, I don't know what that is.
Okay, Dr. Mike, so
Yes.
with the 650, you paid 2 months in advance of your car note.
Yes.
So
You
the next
boom,
2 months,
chunked
you
it
don't
down.
have a car note.
You don't have a car note. So you reduce your interest amount, and you shouldn't have a car note the next couple of
Pay
months.
that money that you would have paid on the car note back on the loan.
Back to
You
your-
got it.
back.
How do
You
you
got
come
it.
up with it though? I mean, it just doesn't appear out of thin air.
What do you mean?
Well, now you owe yourself what?
Well, that's the money that you would have
You
paid
would
towards
have
your
paid it
car.
to the car company anyways. But instead of paying it to the car company, you're paying it back to your own bank.
But you're not gaining an extra $300 in your own bank. You're only gaining that 4.25%.
Bingo. But over a lifetime, it's huge.
Right, but
You're
right
gaining
now
that
we're in the
interest
here and
and you're
now.
writing off.
You know, that's,
How long do you have to keep the loan out though to keep that in?
But that's what I'm saying. I mean, if you're either gonna lose it or gain it, which one would you rather do? Yeah, absolutely.
6% interest. That's what I'm trying to understand here. Where is that 6% interest going?
That's going to the company. That's going to
The insurance.
the insurer, the mutual company.
Okay.
Yep.
So
And
that's
then they're
not-
also, but they're paying you dividends back, so it's
Are
really
you
about
getting
a
the
1.5.
Okay, okay.
It's actually about 1.5% difference, which is like close to nothing. So at this point, 1950 plus 600 that you paid back in, you now have, after month 3, you've got about 2550. Let me double check that. 650
that's not
times.
right.
No,
You
that's
just
not right.
added-
That's not right. Sorry, 1950.
you just
Okay.
added the 600 payments.
Okay. Yeah, that took off that. So you got 3 months worth in there. Now you've got 1950. Okay. So that's how much you've got after 3 months. So now what do? You take that out. You minus 1950, and you pay that towards your car loan. Okay. You chunk that down.
And then you say, what,
Okay.
don't bill me for 6 months or something?
Yeah. 1950 divided by 300 is going to buy you 6.5 months. Okay, so now for 6 months, you pay that back. 300, 300, 300, 300, you pay that back. Now you take new 6 months, plus that, times that 650.
When you pull the loan, you set the amount that you want to pay back, right? You can set the amount,
Yes.
and you can set the interest.
You set the amount that you want to pay back each month.
Yeah.
Okay, so important point now.
Yeah.
Okay, this is how the snowballing comes in. Let's say after that next round of payments, now you've got, you paid all that down, and you've got, say, $5,000, $5K in your account, and that's all you need to pay off your car. Your car only has $5,000 of premium or principal left in it. You pay it off. Okay. Now, do you just say, all right, now I got an extra $300 that I don't have anything to do with. I can go spend it. No, you take that $300 now and you add that to your pool that you're repaying back to your. So now you take that $300 and you're paying off you start paying off a student loan. That your student loan is $200 a month. Okay, so you take out that new amount in full, that policy loan. You take out a policy loan for your cash value that's in there, and you pay that off to your student loan.
The student loans work the same way?
You'd have to find out.
Well, actually, yeah, because normally, like every year, like all of my student loans will give me like one loan is in like 3 to 4 months of just free payments, which obviously like I don't do. But yeah, like the next year they calculate, how much you've paid over, and they say, oh yeah, take those 3 extra months you'll need to pay. So like it works like the same way as like the audits.
I think it does. I think it does. I mean, at the end of the day, they want you paying as much interest as possible.
Yeah.
So I don't know why mortgages, are different. I don't know.
They weren't.
I don't know. Maybe only yours is. I've never tried it. I'll know soon. Because
I can understand the borrowing
soon.
against it to pay off another loan so that you're getting an interest payment here. What I don't understand watching this is you're having to pay $1,000 a month every month. That's correct?
Yep.
But when you take money out, it's not still there. I mean, you can't take $650 out and pay it against a car and still have $650 left.
But you never took it in the first place. Like, here's $650. If it was in a checking account, your checking account, and you write a check to the company, it disappears. That's your money, right? This is $650 that's in the insurance company. So you tell them, hey, I want to borrow $650,000. So you actually borrow the money from them. So they say, okay, we have this as collateral, but we're going to give you our $650. But your $650 is still here. But to give that to you, I'm going to charge you 6%. But your money never left, it's still here. They use it as collateral in case you never paid this back, then we'll just take this and keep it. But yeah, does that make sense? So they give it to you for 6%. In the meantime, your $650 here is making 4.5%.
Right.
And
so you're only losing 1.5%
1.5%
by doing this each time.
Yep.
But by the time you pay yourself back, like a banker, with interest, you've made money by borrowing money.
Yeah, you've made up
so
that 1.5%.
So the next month you're paying yourself, you're paying $650, you're paying your $1,000, $350 to the insurance company for this premium. The $650 that's going into your own account. And then you're paying back an additional 6%, is that correct?
Yep.
So you're going to throw in another 6%.
Actually, I'd throw in about 8 or 9%.
Okay, let's keep it simple, okay? For stupid people like that. Okay? So you're throwing in an extra $60.
Yeah.
Okay, basically. Yep. So you're adding to this account each time. This doesn't have you have to just maintain this $1,000 though. I mean, you're literally just borrowing everything out of it. There's nothing left in there except for the percentage that you're being paid on the initial.
What happens when you don't need to borrow against it?
Right.
When you don't need to borrow against it?
Yeah, say all my bills are paid. I have no debt.
Then it sits in there just gaining dividends until you find, let's say you've got 2 people. You've got one person that has $100,000 in a traditional IRA. Both of these people are 40 years old. One has $100,000 in a traditional IRA. The other person has $100,000 in their cash value of their insurance policy. Both of them have no debt. Okay, and now you come to me and you've got a business opportunity that I know is a ridiculous, opportunity that he needs investors. It's an unbelievable idea. And I know I want to invest in it. I know he'll make money in it. So it's like this one-in-a-lifetime deals. Okay, if I've got the IRA, what happens? What power do I have? None. Because if I take out my money, do I have $100,000 left? No. But if I take out the $100,000 out of my bank, I can write him a check in 5 days. Actually, I could probably have it overnighted to me for a $7 fee.
What if it's a Halloween situation? It surges ahead, makes a lot of money in 3 years, and then collapses. And he defaults on the loan and everything else.
Then I have to figure out how to pay. Then I'm responsible to pay back that policy loan over time.
That's why you have to be very trustworthy with.
Yeah, you've got to be smart. You're an investor.
I mean, you're becoming your own bank. I mean, banks have criteria for giving out loans. Don't just give it to friends. Give it to friends who are going to pay you back.
Yeah. So
you have a document and stuff like that, right? To protect yourself in case something does happen.
give it to myself.
So really, I mean, you want to get to the point where all your stuff is paid off, so that you can truly be a bank to other people and other businesses. That's the whole point.
You got it.
The cool thing is when you can insure, like you can insure even your cars. Legally, you have to have what is a liability, but you can insure against yourself for full coverage. So you can act like you can just get liability because you've already paid for your car out of your own bank, and you can just get liability because that's all you're required legally to have. And plus, you're going to want to have it for lawsuits. But you can then pay yourself back the difference between liability and full coverage. And then, it's ridiculous.
And now you recaptured your liability insurance.
Because that's all the insurance companies do.
What about disability insurance? Same thing.
Yeah.
If you got enough in your bank that you'd be okay if you became disabled, you recaptured all the costs of disability insurance also.
Yeah.
So there's all these different factors that go into it. You know, college loans, student loans. You know, your kids are probably going to go to school at some point. So you're either taking money from Sally Mae, who's getting bailed out by the U.S. government, or you take it out of your bank, and you're hoping that you didn't raise lunatics who won't pay their dad back.
I hate my kids.
So I mean, there's so much there's so much power there, and to get back on that, now you take that $300 that you were paying there, and you add that $200 that you were paying to your student loan. Now you're paying back $500 a month, and then when that student loan is paid off, now you take the next $200 debt that you have and you lump that in. Now you're paying back $700 a month. And what happens is you're doing the snowball effect, but you're doing it within your own bank, and you just watch your debts just collapse to where literally you're just pumping in huge amounts, paying back the policy loans like nothing, and real quickly you're going to get to the point where you got your bank set up and now you're debt free, and now you have that new problem, which is what do I do with all this extra? How do I make a move now?
Here's an idea. Okay, what if you're starting off on your credit card first? You want to get this thing going, you want to start a credit card first, because credit cards, you can't defer your payments.
Yep.
You default. Or not default, so if you want to start off with a credit card, you got a small one. So the best thing to do is wait till you have that amount into the thing, and then throw it onto that first credit card, and then pay yourself back that.
Yeah.
Because now that credit card's done. So that's it, whatever the amount is, you throw
and then roll in that payment amount.
And then the next one just, okay. So
yeah.
that keeps snowballing.
And it's easy to do if you do it, though,
And the first one's going to probably take a little bit of time, but once you get past the first one, you start getting to the next ones,
And see, like with Dave Ramsey, he keeps everything very, very simple. There's two things I want you to know there. Number one, he keeps it simple, because who's he working with? The masses, the majority.
Yes.
So I guarantee you that he knows things to do financially that he is never going to teach to the masses. He's probably doing something completely different. He's probably doing this stuff. Or some variation.
That's so funny.
I see for dummies, Ramsey's way.
Yeah, and he's got stock in the
Actually,
insurance
he has
companies.
his own mutual life insurance company. Don't even.
Yeah, he probably does. Yeah. So he keeps it very simple, and there's nothing wrong with that when you look at what he does. Okay. So you basically take the smallest amount first, and the reason why he does that is because he knows you're going to be able to pay that off the quickest. Well, that can work. Yeah, that can work here too. Yeah. But then again, it makes no sense to pay off the smallest loan if your smallest loan is 4% interest, and you've got a slightly bigger loan that's 18% interest. Right. You're going to want to leverage that out and pay off the 18% loan first.
What if you got one that's like your car loan that's 0%? That would be kind of.
A car loan that's 0%?
Yeah, would be kind of pointless to have a car loan.
Forever?
Well, I'm saying your first one. We got our car loan is 0%.
Okay.
So it'd be kind of dumb to pay.
That's not bad. Yeah.
But I'm saying we've got a lot of our credit cards. That's what I'm saying. We got a lot of stuff going to 0%.
So you'd probably want to get something that knock out. And I mean, it's got to be kind of an individual basis. I mean, that's what I'm saying. You can't just make it simple. I mean, you got to look at everybody's individual accounts and be like, okay, this is the debts, this is the interest rate. What kind of debts are they? Are they credit cards? Are they car loans? Are they personal loans? Are they, mortgages? What are they? And then you take those and you put them in pecking order.
Well, again, it's the whole volume of interest that they talked about, not
Exactly.
not the
Exactly.
APR.
That's the key. That's the key.
And what do the dividends pay?
Dividends.
Say I don't have any debt and I start one tomorrow and I put $1,000 on there and I have $400 premium or whatever.
When you set up the policy, what they're going to show you is they're going to show you guaranteed cash value and they're going to show you projected cash value. Like every time that you see a sheet, it's got the guaranteed and the projected. A lot of times people look at the projected amounts, and that's what the slickster insurance salesmen who are just trying to sell you. I mean, there's guys out there that will try to sell you whole life insurance as a life insurance policy. And I'll be the first to tell you that's insane. You know, if you were literally using whole life insurance as a life insurance policy, you're wasting your money. But if you use it for all the benefits of it, there's no better way of using your money. You know what I mean? It depends on how you utilize the tool. You know, a saw does you no good if you're trying to put nails into a board. You know? So what you want to look at a lot of times, you know, the slicker, they'll point you at the projected amounts, but those are projected, they're not guaranteed. You want to look at the guaranteed amounts.
But last year, our company did almost projected. It was way over guaranteed.
Yeah.
It might have been over the projected.
In the worst economic downturn since the Great Depression. Yeah.
But the best
they
thing is
doubled
you get
their
your guaranteed.
This is what you always make on the guarantee.
And then it's always worst case scenario.
Yeah,
exactly.
They literally doubled their base premiums in 1 year.
Yeah, it was really amazing.
Yeah,
So
that's
at
cool.
minimum, this is a tax-deferred retirement account.
Yes.
I mean, at the very minimum.
It's not tax.
I know it's
That's what
you're
tax in advance. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're paying your taxes right up front.
Yeah.
You know, you're getting the government out right away.
So it can replace your 401k and a Roth IRA,
Yes.
right? Easily.
Cash out. I'm thinking about it. Cash out. Cash out your IRA.
We're doing it Monday.
Awesome.
So
The thing that
I mean, that's it. It's like, you know, yeah, we're gonna lose that amount, but I mean,
Well, the thing is,
it's all fake gains anyway.
well, you have to pay the taxes anyways. Might as well just pay the taxes now.
Our guy, because we work at the same company, and our money guys come in and give the pitch on 401k and how great it's doing, and I would always ask him, well, wait a minute, what's going to happen when I'm 65 and I take this out? He goes, oh, don't worry about that. You'll be in the lowest tax income bracket, and I'm like, dude, you're setting me up to be poor, but that was his answer, you know, oh, don't worry about it, you won't be making anything, it's fine, you know, and I'm like, that makes no sense.
Most like great.
That makes no sense to me. But everybody got screwed at our work. Dude, that was anyway. Long story, but I mean, when the stock market crashed, everybody lost tons of money, and that goes back to they spent all these years building money, and then they just lost half of it, and they can't even calculate the cost of losing money. It's just so they're all laughing at my 4.5%. But I'm laughing at these guys because they lost everything, hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Let me just show you how the stock market works real quick, just in case anybody doesn't know. Good book. My financial advisor gave me this. Financial coach. He's not just an advisor. The Losing Game. Incredibly simple book. Okay? Here's basically the book. Here's how the stock market works. Okay? You work at company A. Okay? Let's say it's Facebook, okay? So,
nice.
Facebook, they decide to finally go public, okay? So what do? They declare 15 million shares, right? Okay? So Facebook gives 15 million shares of the company, okay? And let's say that the shares start at $10 a share. Okay.
And that's their IPO.
Yeah. So initial public offer, if nobody knows what that is. Okay. So they $10 times 15 million shares, and all of those shares get consumed just like that because hey, it's Facebook. Okay. Where does that money? How much money is that? First of all,
150 million.
$150 million. Where does that money go?
Back into Facebook. And the bank.
To Facebook. Okay. Now what happens?
You get sued by the Winklevoss twins.
Zuckerberg goes to another lawsuit.
Okay. So literally, I want you to see what happened. Do you have cash? Who has cash in their pocket? Seriously, anybody have any cash in their pocket?
Yes.
You knew this was coming. Don't worry, free backpacks for everybody.
How much you want?
I knew this thing had a fee.
How much you got?
I think I got about $300.
About $300. Great.
I think.
Okay, that's good for one share.
Wow, Dr. Mike Bucknell's.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Woo!
You're my banker. He's trustworthy.
Yeah, that's right.
You're my banker.
You should have counted.
Congratulations.
Yeah, you count this?
Okay, you guys see how this works? Okay. Count and make sure you know how much.
I don't even know how much.
Okay. So here's how it goes. Okay, so what do you have now?
I have a piece of paper.
You have a piece of paper.
It's a nice piece.
What do you have? You're the bank.
Cash.
You got the cash. Okay. Actually, you don't have anything. You're just my bank. I have the money, right? I'm the company. Where do I go now? I go off and I do business, right?
Right.
Okay. Now, what do?
I don't know.
You hope that I do well, right?
Right.
You hope that I do well. Now, how do I keep my stockholders happy? Okay, basically, I do really, really well, and then when my stockholders start to kind of like, what's going on? The company's doing really good. What do I do? Then I basically say, okay, well, here you go. And you slap out a little bit in dividends, right? So like, my dividends, I would get like $16 for my Intel stock, or something like that. Or $1.34 or something. Just something ridiculous. It's like nothing. So they give you these dividends, and usually they don't pay out dividends unless they're like making money hand over fist. And even then, it's not that much unless you own 65 million shares. Then it's going to be a good chunk of money. Okay, so the idea there, though, is to gain ownership in the company. That's ultimately that's what everybody throws around the name Warren Buffett. He doesn't buy into companies unless he basically buys the company. So it's like when he steps in, he's like, okay, where's the board meeting at?
Right.
Like I'm going in there, you're fired, you're fired, you're fired, and I'm bringing these people in. Okay, you see how that works? Movie Tron, that's a good way of looking at that. Yeah.
Nice.
Okay, so now this guy, he's making dough. You got a good job, and you say, ooh, you know what? Facebook is doing really good. Okay, so he's got $400 in his pocket. Okay, he's going to go over to you and he gives you the $400. What do? You give him the piece of paper, and you got $400 now. Now you're happy, right? Because you just made $400, or you just made $100 on your. Now he's got the piece of paper. How much do I have?
Still at
300.
I got my $300. Nothing happened. Okay, this exchange happens with the ups and downs of the market 50 times. Okay, it doesn't matter how many times it happens. It goes up and down all over the place, unless it goes really, really, really low. And then I say, you know what, I'm going to buy that stock back. And I buy it back, wait till it goes up because I know what's happening on the company, and then I sell it off again and make a profit. That's why they have buybacks of stock. But how often does that happen? Hardly ever. Like, they usually never buy back their stock. Okay? So basically, here's what it comes down to. All you idiots are out there trading around my piece of paper, and I'm the one sitting here with the cash. That's the game. That's the game. Okay, so what does that mean? Really, it's a gigantic gamble. The entire thing is a gamble. You're gambling against you and you and you and you and you. And who's sitting over the entire thing? The IRS. Just waiting for everybody to change the money again and again so that they can say, there's your taxes, now there's your taxes, there's your taxes, there's your taxes. And they're just picking off your taxes left and right. And there's this thing that they call momentum or movement in the money, that the more times that you move the money into another stock, the more taxation and the more fees come along with it. Like every time you make a trade on Scottrade, what do they get? $7. Okay, so how many times do they want you to move the money and buy and sell stocks? As many times as they possibly can. They want you sitting at your computer all day long, watching the ups and downs and everything. You see the game? And at the end of the day, the companies are sitting there with all the real money. They just picked off $150 million. Who could use $150 million to build their company now?
Yeah.
You see how it works?
Yeah.
And now what happens?
Just real quick though, stocks weren't initially set up to be like this though, right? Like back when like the guys in the boat, like 100 years, 200 years ago, the guys in the harbor were like, well, we need a way to, like you actually did buy into the company.
Rockefeller invented all this.
But yeah, and it wasn't like now, like, because my brother, he stock trades and he can double his money every 2 months. because he's really good. But sometimes he goes in and he bets the company's going to fail, and he sets it up, and he wants it to fail. So he cashes in. So he makes money both ways. Like sometimes it'll be a good trade that the company will go up, and he'll make money. Sometimes it tanks and he makes money. But he was never set up to be like that initially. That's what's crazy. I mean, he'll do double straddles and iron condors and all this crazy stuff. It's ridiculous.
Well, but he's also doing something like a lot more.
What book did he learn that from?
Well, dude, he's doing vertical straddles and vertical spreads, and like sometimes he makes money. He'll bet that the stock will maintain the same level for a day, and he'll cash it. It's ridiculous, but it was never set up initially to be that way. But it is. It's a big game. And if you know the game, you can make money, but a lot of people do get screwed because they go around the conspiracy.
And that's kind of the, and that's the ethical problem at the end of the day of it, is it's basically like the pharmaceutical markets. You can sit back as a pharmaceutical executive and be like, you know what, we're creating drugs that are saving lives. At the end of the day, if you don't have your head stuck in your keister, you know that your drugs are killing people, and you're okay with it because you're making money. And that's kind of the ethical problem that I have with that, is you're basically, whenever you make a gain, you're making a gain not against the company, not against profits of the company or how they're doing. You're making it off of some other chunk.
Yep, it's true.
And that is the problem. That's why I'm like, forget it. Yes.
I have a question back on this topic.
Sure.
Say, okay, what if you were to die? What would the cash value? What would be the taxation of the cash value?
It was only 200.
You'd be taxed at your rate. But at the end of the day, if you're taxed on the cash value, does your spouse really care?
No, but I just wanted to make sure that the end amount, that however, if you have $650,000 in cash value, that's going to be taxed at inheritance tax rate.
Probably.
Okay.
Probably.
Taxed on the cash value?
But I believe so that you would probably get taxed with like inheritance taxes or something like that because cash value. But that's what I'm saying. If you got $650,000 in cash value, how much is your insurance portion going to be? Astronomical. Your spouse would be like, take it.
Okay, but what I'm saying is that you have a $1 million policy.
Not if you have $650,000 in cash
So
value.
that changes.
Oh yeah.
Okay,
I
didn't.
You can set up your policy to initially be $2.5 million. But if you consistently put in the full amount of paid up additions, see, every time you put up paid up additions, that's adding on paid up additional insurance.
Right, because it's not taking into account you're going to be paying past that 5 to 7 years. So if you pay past that, it blows past the window.
Yeah, so you're literally buying more insurance. That's the way the insurance company looks at it. You're buying more insurance. So if your cash value is $650, you've got a big old chunk in the insurance.
Okay, see, that's the part that I didn't grasp. That was.
Yeah, it's huge, ain't it?
Yeah.
I mean, it's I'm telling you, every one of the details that you get, it just gets more and more ridiculous.
So you can stop at the $1 million if you want to.
Yeah. Yeah, if you want to.
How long do you have to pay into these policies before they expire or whatever, or mature, or whatever they do?
When you die.
It's forever.
It's permanent life insurance.
So you
Which
just
means
keep
it's
playing the game back and forth. You never really can touch the money. Not like shut down the policy and take your $1 million.
Oh yeah, you can cash out your cash value anytime you want to, but you won't want to. You lose the death benefit, and that's a huge chunk. You
cash out over the amount of the capitalization.
So let's say you get to the point where real world example. Let's say that you're 70 years old and you retire. Okay, and you've got $1 million in your cash value, and your policy is worth $90 million death benefit now. Okay, so would you want to take out that full $1 million and knock off $90 million that you'd be passing down to your children? Heck no, right? I mean, there's no way. It's like you want to make sure that whatever you take out, you're going to keep that policy alive because you're not going to kill the huge elephant in the room, that massive policy, that massive death benefit. You don't want to knock that out. That's your inheritance. That's your legacy, okay? So what you do is you take that $1 million and you figure that you're going to live for 30 more years, okay? So you basically take that $1 million and you start taking policy loans out every year, basically to dwindle that down to, let's say, 100,000. By the time you're 100 years old.
But it's still making money though, because it's still
making money,
you're still
right?
probably pulling positive cash flow. That's number one. Number two is it's completely tax free. You're not taxing a dime of it because it's taken out as a loan, not as income.
Bingo. So
you're
if you
still
take
making
out
money.
$10,000 a month, you're putting $10,000 a month into your account that you can spend.
Yeah, but you quit working, so where do you get the extra income to pay yourself back?
You don't.
You don't.
You're 70 years old. You're going to die in 30 years.
But the 90 million or whatever, you're making dividends on all of that. So that's all still being paid.
That's growing every year. Your cash value is growing every year. So that's what I'm saying. Let's say you've got 100,000. Let's say you've got $100,000 in your cash value. Okay? So, and you're 70 years old here. You basically look at this and you have them put together a chart. You call your insurance adjuster and they'd be able to tell you what you would be able to do here. And you say, okay, I figure I'm probably going to die at 100 years old. Okay? So, I want to know, based on this amount right here, this 100,000, if I no dividends, no nothing, if I have $100,000 and I spent 90,000 of that over the next 30 years, how much will that be every month? Okay, so they take 30 times, let's just kind of dumb this down. I mean, it would be a lot smarter calculations than this, but that's 360 months. So 90,000 divided by 360 months is 250. Wait, I totally messed that up. 30 times 12, 360. 90,000 divided by. Okay, you definitely would want.
Yeah, you gotta have more.
You gotta have more than that.
Else you have a killer budget. $200 a month.
You better keep working in that scenario. Yeah, that would be $250 a month. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah. There you go. 900,000. Okay, we'll just move that decimal over. Okay, so 900,000 divided by 360 months is $2,500 a month. Okay, so you can pay yourself $2,500 per month, tax free, goes into your account, plus Social Security.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that'll be there.
I'm counting on it.
So you know that's going to be there. That does not include dividends. That doesn't include anything else, and you're still left with $10,000 at $10,000 plus dividends and everything else, which probably you'd end up with more than that, even left after the end of the day if that's all you were taking out. But you see what I'm saying? They can figure out how much you can take out every month and still have money in there. And then what happens is, let's say you live to 110 years old. Now what do? You go to your kids and you tell them, listen, here's the deal. You know I'm not going to live more than 10 more years. Okay, my teeth are falling out, I've got no hair left, I've already had a pacemaker put in. I'm not going to live more than 10 more years. So here's the deal, I'm out of money. I need to take out that other $10,000 to live on. Okay, so I'm going to take that out. You can either keep investing in your Roth IRA, or you can start putting your money into my policy to keep it alive, and when I die in 10 years, collect $100 million. What do you want to do? You see? So it's like, no matter what, I will take out a loan that costs me $30,000 to take out if I know I'm going to get $100 million in 10 years. You know what I mean? So you have the power to leverage there, and you kind of know what the numbers are, because you're working with guaranteed values here. You're not working with values that are like the stock market that go up and down every other month.
As long as your parents don't cut you off at the last minute and change the beneficiary.
Yeah.
That's called keeping the family together. Now you're responsible for your family too, for your relationships. Yeah. So just here's why this stuff all kind of clicked with me, and I mean we could keep going with questions and stuff all night long, and anybody that wants to stay and ask questions, they can, but I kind of want to put a kind of a stopping point on here. The reason why all this stuff came in so easy for me to grasp, and I think the reason why they, his route is going with chiropractors, teaching chiropractors, because we already think holistically. Okay? Somebody that thinks on a microscopic level isn't going to get this stuff because they can't see past their hand. So they're looking at rates of return, and they're looking at, the little details like, well, I can be taxed now. I can put $10,000 into account right now, or I can only have $6,500, and of that $6,500, I can only invest, I can only put in about 65% of that into this that I actually get to keep. So, geez, forget that. I'm going with the 10,000 because they're not thinking about all the different levels of it. You see how that works? They're not thinking about all the different intricacies of the death benefit. They're not thinking about the insurance capability. They're not thinking about recapturing interest, the loss of momentum on your money. They're not thinking about any of that stuff. So it's microscopic thinking. It's the same thing as medical thinking. I have a hemorrhoid, so I'm gonna smear some hemorrhoid cream on my behind, and that's gonna fix the problem, right? Because the pain goes away. Who cares if I'm growing a new head, right? So as long as the pain's not there. Yeah.
Could we use a different illustration?
Yeah. I like to make it clear. Yeah. So you see what I'm saying? That's medical thinking because you're just thinking about what's right in front of you. You're not thinking about the long-term effects.
Right behind you.
But see, as a chiropractor, you're thinking about all that. You're able to take in the whole picture and be able to see all the different facets down the road. And when you start putting it all into the picture, it just becomes like, are you kidding me? You're going to put that cream on there? You're not even going to think about all the other problems. You're not going to think about the long-term effects. You're not going to think about you're going to have your hole shut, sewn shut in a couple of years. They don't
get off on this example.
They don't think of You'll remember it, right?
Yeah.
But they don't think about all this stuff. So when you don't think about it, you end up getting screwed. So you see what I'm saying? So you literally have to have you have to have a chiropractic mindset, literally, a holistic mindset for this to grasp. That's what I mean, kind of like I said, I wouldn't just teach this in my office, like, hey, everybody show up and I'm going to show you how to become wealthy. Not going to happen. It's everybody in this room, you guys get chiropractic already. I know you do. You wouldn't be here if you didn't. So this, I know, would come second nature to you. But even then, I'm going to tell you still, tread lightly. And know what you're doing first. A couple other books that I think, first of all, I think you guys should read this book. If you have any second guesses about 401ks, IRAs, anything like that, read this book, The Losing Game.
Who's the author?
Okay. It's by T.E. Scott. Okay. Then the next book is The Storehouse Principle. Has everybody read this? Anybody read this? Really? Wow. Okay. The Storehouse Principle is basically the biblical account. It's basically what does the Bible say about savings. And here's the idea in the Bible. You guys all know it. It's that the kings, they would go and they would put money away. The king, he puts money away instead of spending it during the good times. He stores up all the crops, right? He puts it all in the storehouse. And then there's a great famine, and what happens? All the other lands that thought they were great, thought everything was wonderful, they go and they run out of food because they weren't saving. What do? They go and they start selling all their herds and all their buildings and their kingdoms and everything else to the guy that actually put stuff in the storehouse. And so what ends up happening at the end of the story? He owns everything. He owns everything because he's the one that had the storehouse in the beginning. Is an IRA a storehouse? No, you can't touch it. That's like giving all of your storehouse, all of your wheat and everything else that you grew, and you go and you give it to the Egyptian pharaoh. You know, he has no allegiance to you. He's not bound to you. He's his own entity that's worried about himself. I'm sorry, but the government's worried about themselves. They're not worried about you. So they're trying to figure out how can we get the masses to buy into a plan that looks good to you on the outside, but in reality, you can't touch your money in famine. So there is no way after you read this book that you can continue to invest in one of these other programs and be thinking that you're following biblical principles. It's not there. You know, so you've got to have some means of, I mean, it's an awesome read. And then the last one, of course, don't even think about opening a policy until you guys have read this book. I would say at least 4 times, front to back. Becoming Your Own Banker by R. Nelson Nash. This is the book that shows you all of this stuff on how he did it. This is the book, okay? It's kind of hard to understand first time running through unless you're like an engineer or something.
The examples aren't great, but honestly, like the first few chapters are really like important. That's really like where he sets out how it works, and that's the most important part.
Can of peas, you know, that kind of stuff. Willie Sutton's Law, you know, all that kind of stuff. The basic fundamentals is fantastic. You know,
there's one more book. It's the guy that trained under this guy, but the book's a lot easier to understand. Like I would say read them both. But it's called, and I just looked it up because I bought it a couple years ago. It's called A Path to Financial Peace of Mind.
Yep.
And it's the guy, it's the same thing, he's trained under, but his examples and stuff are a lot, and he just takes, and he's very basic, like this guy goes to like, you know, fund your logging company and fund your, like, he goes to a lot of different examples. This guy uses one family, one example, the entire book, and it just, you know, he funds a wedding, he funds college education, like, but it's the same family, the same numbers, and it's just a lot easier to understand. So you might want to read that one first and then tackle this book, because you're going to be set up better. But
exactly.
Anyway,
so,
gosh, if you just go to Amazon, A Path to Financial Peace of Mind, I could find the author.
So, you know, moral of the story, at the end of the day, don't just set something up until you know what you're doing, and then also have somebody that you know is credible. You know, that don't just go to, you know, honestly, I contacted a local gentleman who was listed on the IBC website and asked him to come out and do a seminar at our office and teach it. And he never called me back. I'm like, dude, if you really got the principles behind this and you saw what it was doing for people, you know, I'm not just going to go and teach a local makeover or health class just because I know I can get patients out of it. You know, if somebody calls me from Mississippi, I'm going to figure out a way to get to Mississippi to teach them the same principles because I believe in it. You know, and this guy wasn't willing to drive across the bay because they're not in his backwoods. I'm like, you know, forget that. I'll go to the guy in Seattle. You know, so.
Also, like, you can't just go set up any whole policy.
No. Yeah, you've got to make sure that it's set up correctly. There are certain things that, you know, if you leave out, you know, that you don't get it set up right, they can actually bite you big time in the end. You know, they've got to have paid up additions riders. They've got to have stuff like that in place.
Have you found a credible person?
I've got one. I'll hook you up.
What's the one thing my policy didn't have? Do you remember
I don't
what it was?
remember.
We added it.
I don't remember.
What was it called? It's the death, or no, disability. It was a disability. Waiver of premium.
Waiver of premium.
That's what it was.
Okay, you were able to add it?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. Okay.
That's one thing mine didn't have.
Yeah, it seems like you can add stuff easily, but you can't take away.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they'll gladly take your. I mean, they're an insurance. They're still selling a product, you know. So they're going to want to sell you the features, but the features are there to protect you. Yeah, the waiver of premium is basically if you become disabled and you can prove it, they'll pay your premiums for you, and it'll stay alive. So there's your disability insurance.
Yep. And mine didn't have it initially.
Yeah. He asked me to look at his policy. I looked at it, and that was not on there. You know, so he was able to go back and add it. That's cool. Okay, sweet. So at this point, anybody that wants to stay and ask questions, you know, you definitely can. And that's the end of the study on finance and money. If you guys want additional information on especially the strategies we talked about in this last section, I would recommend you read the book Infinite Banking Concept by R. Nelson Nash. That's going to give you everything that you need to know. If you have any additional questions on any of the information we covered, feel free to contact me at drbucknell@gmail.com. Thanks so much for listening.